Hello and welcome. My name is Manisha Shivaramani and you're watching Flash On. It is a little known fact that most of the revolt against British began in the southern parts of India. And today is the birth anniversary of Kittur Chennamma, the Queen of Kittur, who was one of the first Indian rulers to lead an armed rebellion against the British East India Company in 1824, against the implementation of Doctrine of Lapse, a policy of annexation devised by the British East India Company. She was born in 1778, 56 years before 1857 revolt led by Rani Lakshmi Bai, thus becoming one of the first women freedom fighters to have fought against the British rule in India. Rani Chennamma was born in a small village called Kakati, now in the district of Belagavi. She received training in horse riding, sword fighting and archery at a very young age and was well known for her bravery across town. When Chennamma was 15 years old, she was married to ruler of Kittur, Malasaraja Desai. 23 years later, in 1816, her husband passed away, leaving her with a young son. Her son too died a few years later in 1824. After her son's death, Chennamma adopted a boy named Shivalingappa and named him the heir to the throne. Chennamma's adopted son was not accepted by British East India Company on the grounds of the Doctrine of Lapse introduced by Lord Dalhousie. According to this doctrine, if the ruler of a state dies without a natural heir, the state would be ruled by the sovereign. Thus, the state of Kittur would be brought under British rule. The British ordered Rani Chennamma to exile the adopted child Shivalingappa, but Chennamma defied the order. Rani Chennamma sent a letter to Lord Elphinstone, Lieutenant Governor of Bombay Presidency, to plead the cause of Kittur, but her request was turned down and a war broke out. British tried to confiscate the treasures and jewels of Kittur, but in vain. With a force of 20,000 men and 400 guns, mainly from their 3rd Troops of Madras Native Horse Artillery, they attacked Kittur. In the first battle on October 1824, British forces lost heavily and the collector and political agent St. John Thackeray was killed by Kittur forces. 2 British officers, Sir Walter Elliot and Mr. Stevenson, were also taken as hostages. But Rani Chennamma released them after a promise from the British that the war would end. Rani Chennamma released them after a promise from the British that the war would end, but the British cheated her. Humiliated by their first defeat at the hands of a small Indian ruler, British officer Mr. Chaplin treacherously returned with much larger forces from Mysore and Sholapur to attack Kittur once again. Rani Chennamma fought fiercely but was outnumbered and ultimately captured and imprisoned at Belahongal Fort, where she died on 21st February 1829. Her loyal lieutenant Sangoli Rayanna continued the guerrilla war even in her absence up to 1829, but in vain. He wished to install Shivalingappa, Chennamma's adopted son, as a ruler of Kittur, but he was captured and hanged by the British. Also, Shivalingappa was arrested by the British forces. Dalhousie's annexations and the Doctrine of Lapse caused great anger among the ruling princes in India, making it one of the causes of the Indian Mutiny of 1857. Chennamma was defeated in her last battle, but she will always be remembered for her valor and for leading the first armed revolts against British rule in India. Since 1824, Kittur Utsav has been organized every year in the month of October to celebrate the heroic rebellion of Rani Kittur Chennamma. Well, that's all for Flash On today. If you liked the video, do share and subscribe to My Nation. Thank you so much for watching.